What is up, you guys? Diggerdan here, coming at you with another video. This time, I'm picking up Tress of the Emerald Sea and doing a review on it. So, without further ado, let's dig into it. So, I'm going to preface this review by saying that Tress is my very first Cosmere book from Brandon Sanderson that I've read. I have read a little bit of Brandon Sanderson. I've read Legion, The Many Lives of Stephen Leeds, and then I'm currently wrapping up the Wheel of Time. So I'm on book number 13, Towers of Madness, so I have that one, and then book 14, and then I could read New Spring, but I'll probably hold on to that one until it's like I'm itching to get back into Wheel of Time. So yeah, I want to wrap those two up, and then kind of go headfirst into Cosmere with Stormlight Archive, Mistborn, all that good stuff. But I wanted to kind of get sidetracked with Tress, because I even heard Brandon Sanderson himself say that Tress is a great entry point into the Cosmere if you haven't read anything. And this is just a good one-off, and it is technically part of the bigger Cosmere, but you can just read it as a standalone and be happy. And I did read it as a standalone, and I am very happy with it, and I'm glad I read it. So yeah, I just want to start by saying that no, I don't have any Cosmere background or any background knowledge before jumping into this book. So for hopefully some of you that is interesting, a fresh take, because I know a lot of you bookworms, you've read his stuff as it's come out, or you were caught up on everything when he released his secret projects. But yeah, so I've read virtually zero Brandon Sanderson before this book for all intents and purposes. But with that being said, like I mentioned, I did really enjoy this book. Out of 10, I'm just gonna jump right into it. I rated this an 8.1. 81%. That's pretty good. That's what it be. So I did really enjoy it. There were some things, kind of plot-wise mostly, that kind of detracted a little bit. But another thing that really detracted, before I jump in, kind of talk spoilers, is that some of the Cosmere mentioned stuff, like Hoyd. He's apparently a beloved character. I don't know what series he's from. I don't know if he's Stormlight Archive, Mistborn, both of them. I have no idea. But apparently a lot of people like him, and he was kind of the narrator for Tress. And the state that he's in this book is apparently really different than when we first meet him in the Cosmere. So that was kind of weird for me. Just some weird things that didn't make sense, but obviously they'd be fun Easter eggs if you have read everything up to this point. So I kind of felt left out a little bit, but also confused, like, what does this mean? What am I missing? And I just hate knowing that I'm missing something, you know? So that was kind of the biggest distractor. But yeah, so I guess I should say, too, for those who haven't read this or haven't even heard about this, Brandon Sanderson did a Kickstarter last year, where this entire year, 2023, was the year of Sanderson, where every quarter he's releasing a book, or he released a book. Tress of the Emerald Sea was the first of those secret projects out of the 4. And yeah, so yeah, without further ado, let's dig into spoilers. So like I said, I rated this book overall an 8.1, but for me to get that number, I have 5 categories I rate. In each category I rate 1 through 10, and then I just take the average from those 5 categories to get the 8.1. So the first category I rate is emotional impact, and out of 10 I rated emotional impact 7.5. So still pretty high, but maybe one of the weaker things on after the plot. So I like Tress. I love Tress. She was a great character. Her character growth was phenomenal. Her being kind of like a closed shell a little bit, you could say, and then by the end of the book she's very confident and very not out there, but very confident and not full of herself, but very sure of herself, which was nice to see. And like when Charlie was kidnapped and nobody cared but Tress, that made me feel really bad for both Charlie and for Tress. Yeah, and then it was in the feel bads for sure. But also when she did get on the pirate ship and she was meeting all the crewmates, like Fort, for example, he was probably one of my favorite pirates. And just realizing that he's deaf, so he doesn't talk with his mouth. He has this cool board or sign, basically. How's this explained? And like on one side he can type, and then it shows on the side facing person he's talking to what he said, kind of like tablet. And then like say he's talking to me, and I say, "Oh, hi Ford," and then on his side it'll flash, "Oh, hi Ford," like me saying that. So that was really cool. And then later when it gets smashed, that was really, really sad. And then when Tress is a baller and she manages to get him a new one from the dragon, from Zixis, I think is how you say it. That was a really heartwarming and fulfilling moment, I think. And it just literally put a smile on my face when that happened. Yeah, just with Tress, just connecting with all these different characters. Like, I'm terrible with the names, but the one woman who was terrible at like shooting like the cannons, but she like really is fascinated by them, and she was really excited to get into it. But at every opportunity when she was given a chance, like it got taken away from her. And then when Tress's solution was glasses, and it turns out she just couldn't see very well. Like that again, it was kind of the same sense as when Ford got his second tablet. So like those types of things, like just kind of shows Tress as a character being very thoughtful and kind of forward thinking. It was just feel good all around on those aspects. But some things that I wasn't as emotionally invested into as some other points was kind of just the evil sorceress herself. Like she's kind of built up to be this big bad evil person, and then at the end, I mean, she kind of follows through on that, but she has all this random like technology that like it's more than just magic. That again to me is just more Cosmere nonsense, I'll say, that I just didn't understand or I didn't get. I don't know if she, whatever her real name was, I don't remember, but that was revealed, like Hoyd, when he gets his mind back, talking to her, like, oh yeah, this, whatever her name is. Sounds like I say we, but people who have read Cosmere up to this point have met her before, I think. I could be wrong. I've really tried to keep any spoilers at a very minimum, so I haven't exposed myself to, like, I know Miss or Bookborn on YouTube. She's great at connecting the dots. Like I haven't watched it, but I saw a thumbnail on one of her videos. It's like all the Cosmere things you missed in Tress, or all the Cosmere things you missed in this book. And so I haven't watched those, obviously. So I'm sure that that's in there. But anyway, I'm just rambling now. But there are things like that kind of took me out of it. And like I feel like I'm missing out. I feel like I could be more invested if I read all the Cosmere up to this point. So I am kind of doing myself a disservice. I kind of realized that halfway through when I realized I was missing some of those things. But on the flip side, like I said towards the beginning of the video, that Brandon Sanderson himself said that this book is a great entry point into the Cosmere if you don't know where to start. So take that with what you will. Anyway, emotional impact 7.5. I'll stop yapping about it. Next is characters. This is the highest rated thing I had. I rated this as a 9.1. Again, all the characters in here, in my opinion, are great. Like Charlie, he's kind of a little annoying, but that's kind of his whole thing, right? He just keeps talking and talking and talking. And that's why him and Tress are great, because she likes listening to him. She loves the stories. That's part of the reason she likes her cups so much, is she likes the story behind the chips and the dings and the scratches and all those things. And Charlie's great because he can just make up a story by seeing it, you know? So like those two interacting are great. Also the crew that she interacts with on the Crow's, I forget the ship, the Crow's something, is great. The actual captain, before Tress delivers her to the dragon, like she's mean and menacing and like kind of evil, but we, through little story points, we learn that she's dying to the spores. Like she's a spore eater. They got into her somehow and kind of taking over her body, and she's become a host to them. So it's like when you're dying, basically terminal. You're going to do anything you can to kind of make up for it, right? So we kind of understand her reasonings, but she's still not a nice person. But again, she's written to be not a nice person, right? So she's still kind of menacing villain, if you will. I don't know if I'd really say she's a villain. But like one of the characters, again, that kind of detract from me is the sorceress herself. She was kind of built to be this way big bad, and just felt a little flat for me. I think Crow's really a bigger bad than the sorceress was. And then again, Hoyd, he is a very interesting character. Like when he was narrating some stuff, just his weird, I'm gonna shove shoelaces up my nose, like weird things like that. It did catch me off guard, and I literally laughed out loud a couple times. But other times it's just way too far out of left wing for me, where it's like, I know you're kind of like lost your mind, but just go on the back corner for a second. Let's go back with Tress and the rest of the crew. But then at the end, when he's revealed, once his curse breaks, and it's revealed that he's this very strong, even more powerful than the sorceress herself character, that was very interesting. But again, we have already met Hoyd before, so I think people probably kind of expected or knew what he was capable of, but I had no idea, so that was kind of a fun character moment or plot moment for me. So yeah, characters overall, all around, were really good, especially Tress. It is her book, Tress of the Emerald Sea, right? It's her story, but she was by far my favorite character. She had the most character development, and it was great. Very satisfying arc all around. Next is plot. I rated this a 7 out of 10. Again, it's still good, but this was the weakest thing. Kind of bounced. Like, I don't really have anything great negative to say, aside from with it being, how long is it? 360 pages or so. Some plot points were a little too convenient, in my opinion, sometimes. But sometimes I think that kind of shows Tress's brilliance as well. Like her playing around with the black spores, and spying on the captain and then her first mate. But then later in the book, when Tress has a meeting with Fort and a couple of the other higher captains, and then Tress is like, oh, something's weird, and then she touches under the desk, and then she realizes she's being spied on. I feel like that was a little too convenient. Just little things like that. But I still think overall it was a very solid plot. Kind of satisfying. But yeah, overall, can't really complain. Next is prose and dialogue. I rated this as an 8.2 out of 10. Again, very strong. But there are some things, like kind of the Hoyd being the narrator, but he's also a character in the story himself. It was kind of throwing me off a little bit. Because sometimes when he said, oh, I left the cabin and went on deck, things like that, I had to like rewire my brain a couple times, because I know it's Tress of the Emerald Sea, she's the main character, so I kept thinking, like when he wouldn't really speak up in a minute, I would immediately like think back that, okay, Tress, she's the main character, this I went on deck is Tress, and then in the next line it's like Tress is doing something that's contradictory to that, like, oh, that's right, Hoyd, he's the narrator, so when he says I, it actually is Hoyd going up, so things like that kind of threw me off a little bit. So yeah, him being a narrator but also a character, and just his weird losing his mind, weird nonsense lines kind of threw me off a little bit. But overall, it was very easy to read. It was pretty clear about what was going on, aside from those spots where I got confused, but that's probably more user error than actual words on the page. But yeah, prose and dialogue, very solid, 8.2. And then last is world building. I rated this as an 8.7. I love the world building in this. Sanderson did a really good job. Just with the seas themselves not being liquid, but them being spores, like basically sand. I thought that was really cool. I think the whole magic system of the different types of spores when they touch something that's wet, like water or blood or sweat, whatever it is, and just how they react, I think is really cool. And then the different colors react differently. Like the green spores They grow vines. The blue spores basically explode or like can cause a concussive force. The pink ones basically become like stone or like a gem. The black ones kind of become like little creatures that you can kind of focus your energy into, or your third eye into, and kind of sort of do what you want to do. The red ones turning into spikes. And I think that those were the only ones that were mentioned. And I think they said it was 12 moons, right? And each moon is a different color and different colored spores. So there's still more spore magic we haven't even seen yet, because there's colors we haven't even seen yet. Because what I said, black, red, blue, green, red, pink. So that's 6. So we only met half of them, unless I was missing a couple. So yeah, we only saw half of them. So just what Sanderson can still do with the more spore stuff, I'm kind of excited to see. But I have no idea how long we'll get into that, or we'll see that, or what stories he has planned with that. But anyway, just the spores themselves, really interesting. And the whole like 12 moon thing, can always kind of see a moon on the horizon. It's kind of fun. And then just kind of the transition from the crew, like them visually, like when they left the green sea and went into the red sea, and kind of when the two seas met, they kind of turned into brown, right? Because they're on the color wheel, they're opposite colors. So when they kind of mix, they just turn to brown. So that was kind of fun. But then also when you go into the new sea, the Red Sea might be a little more dangerous because the spikes could pierce the hull instead of just the vines kind of holding the ship in place. And then like the Black Sea, kind of even more so because the sorceress has her little black spore creatures that kind of hunt. So just kind of all the really cool things happening. But we didn't see too much with actual like land masses. Like obviously we saw, or I feel like most of the time on land was at the rock in the Green Ocean, or excuse me, the Emerald Sea, the Green Sea, where Tress lives and Charlie lives and the Duke and all that. So that's where the story starts and kind of ends. So and like it's that, and then a couple ports, and then the end in the Black Sea with the Sorceress's Island. And that's really it. Everything else is pretty much on the ship, on the sea. Kind of fun. So yeah, kind of had fun Pirates of the Caribbean feel a little bit, but just with Sanderson flair, and kind of fairy tale telling. You know, it was so overall it was really good. The reason it's not higher than an 8.7 is just there's some Cosmere stuff that went over my head that I feel like I missed. And if I knew about and could connect the dots, it'd probably be higher for me. But like Hoyd and the Sorceress themselves, when they started kind of talking to each other, or the Sorceress when she first meets Tress, something about, oh, your planet is so primitive, and Tress is like, my planet, you come from a different planet, like she internally mono, like, so these things. But again, some avid readers might understand that better and might be more of an aha moment. And then one other character I kind of completely haven't talked about yet is the like surgeon barber dude that switch like not animal parts, human parts, like human bodies. Like he's got an ear on his arm and weird things like that. I forget his name, but apparently he's an immortal too, just like Hoyd in the Sorceress. So he was a really interesting character. Kind of off the wall as well, but very wise and all these things. So yeah, he's just kind of thrown in there at the end. He's also a weird character that, again, since it's bigger Cosmere stuff, I feel like I kind of missed. And probably if I read this in another couple years, once I kind of catch up on Cosmere, might make more sense to me. But to me, he was just a weird zombie guy. Anyway, so yeah, I don't really have too many negative things to say. Aside from, I wish I got all of the references, pretty much. Yeah, so that's Tress the Emerald Sea for me. What do you guys think? Have you guys read this one? I've seen a lot of people say that of the 4 secret projects, this tends to be people's favorite. So that's part of the reason I wanted to read this too. Like, a lot of people like it, and it'd be good. So I do have the second secret project, the Wizard's Handbook to Surviving Medieval England, I think is what it's called. So I might read that one soon in the next couple months, but I don't have the next two, or the last two, but we'll see. So yeah, what do you guys think of Tress? And what do you guys think of my review? Do you think I was completely off base? Do you agree with everything I have to say? Who is your favorite character? Go in the comments. Go crazy. Well, I would love to hang out with you guys down there. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys like this video, please hit like down below. If you guys want to see more from me, Diggerdan, please hit that subscribe button as well as that bell notification icon so you guys know when I upload each and every single time. And yeah, I will catch you guys in the next one.